Hello and welcome to Zgermanguy Reviews. I'm Zgermanguy. Hey kids, you know what time it is? Fun Nazi time! It's always interesting to read some of the stuff people have come up with over the years, explaining where some of the Nazis could be hiding. Be it as a bodiless head in a glass, the moon, or they just infiltrated the US. Okay, that last one might actually be true. Or in the case with the movie of today, Inside the Hollow Earth. Oh my god, I just had the idea how we can solve global warming. We just dig a very deep hole for the additional water. Now all I need is some credentials. Done. That should allow me to present my idea on the international stage. Or impress some right-wing circles. Anyway, Nazis at the center of Earth is an idea for a plot too good to be left alone. That's why we have a movie about it. So let's have some fun. We begin in May 1945. World War II is almost won. Or, lost, depending on who you ask. We see an army officer talking to the real-life version of Dr. Steinman, Dr. Mengele. I always had found it fascinating that those Nazis already have names that sounded like they were meant for some comic book supervillains. Look out, Superman! Dr. Goebbels is using his orbital laser to destroy Metropolis! And I say talking, but they speak anything but German. Or any human language for that matter. It sounds like they were trying to chew gum and brush their teeth while quoting Goethe. And they still sound very sexy smart. God, I love being Aryan. Anyway, the evil doc escapes the Allied forces as he did in real life. And if you were curious, he would later drown while having a stroke. God, I hope he was in that part of Brazil where those small animals that crawl up your dick hole live.
Get your ass and say you get your problem area. Nothing like urinating. It looks like great.
We go to present day, where a team of researchers is doing some researching in the Antarctic, and we get some of the world's best dialogue I have ever seen.
Right. Over. And out. Hey, Paige, do you copy? Damn, it's cold.
It's summer in February. Imagine spending a winter here.
Can't believe you've done that.
Yes, the warmest of all months. February. They use a big drill to get under the surface of the ice, but quickly turn it off after they realize that they have hit something. So that is why there are only white polar bears. Which actually live on the South Pole, but this is a fucking movie about the Earth being hollow, so maybe we should ignore scientific accuracy. The two scientists named Paige and Mark
Oh, hi, Mark.
get grabbed by Fritz over here. He and his comrades blow everything up. We cut to another couple of scientists working. Ah, movie scientists. The only acceptable form of slander. One researcher, whose name is Moss, and a blonde scientist who goes by the name Dr. Reichstag get into an argument over the petri dishes since they contain dangerous bacteria. Dr. Reichstag. Very subtle, you guys. Also, good to know the real origins of the virus I can't speak about because I will get demonetized. Which doesn't matter because I don't monetize my videos anyway. But if I would, I couldn't. But hey, one conspiracy theory at a time. A woman enters the room while the blonde guy was making some not so very subtle threats, informing the others that their colleagues haven't sent any messages in a long time. So they go investigating, only to find some blood and footsteps. Meanwhile, it's fun-filled adventures in Dr. Mengele's lab.
No, God, no. No, no, no. No, no.
That's not how you do that tablecloth trick. The rescue team finds the end of the trail at a big ice canyon. Meanwhile, Paige makes an escape attempt, only to run into a Nazi that has taken her friend's skin as his own. Lizard people wearing human skin as costumes. Now you really jumped the shark. She runs into a room full of dead people and body parts everywhere. Then the Nazis come in and touch her everywhere. How does this movie know my exact fantasy? Somewhere else, the group of scientists decide to let one of them down with a rope, but he doesn't come back up. Rookie mistake, they all think, and send down yet another member of their group. She lets go on purpose and slides down, where she discovers that under the millions of tons of ice is a secret biodome. So it's not really the center of Earth, is it?
Hitler actually sent expeditions down here looking for the supposed entrance to Agartha at the South Pole. Some people say that this is the site of secret submarine bases. Some people say that this is the center of Nazi UFO research.
I'm sorry. How do you know all this?
Huh. When you lived in Antarctica for 10 years, you hear things.
From who? Anyway, Paige is on the operating table now, discussing with the butcher in front of her skin products. And I have no idea if any of this is real or just made up babble, but it sounds as if it could mean something.
Using prednisolone to counteract mismatched HLAs?
Is it more effective than CSA?
Cyclosporin is still effective, but the scope of allogenic transplantation means you're probably dealing with a much higher degree of histocompatibility symptoms.
Fan service for dermatologists. We had to wait so long. They walk straight into a trap and then get surrounded by a bunch of fascists and their super duper serious looking weapons, with some computer chips on them. Do these machine guns have access to the internet? And how would you watch YouTube on them? Anyhow, it turns out Dr. Reichstag is a Nazi. What a twist! For some reason, Mengele starts to explain how it is possible that he is still alive when in the 70s his death was confirmed by DNA, even though he has absolutely no reason to do so other than the good old villains like to hear themselves talk cliché. My name is Obersturmbannführer Exposition. Mengele over time replaced most of his body parts, one at a time, therefore stopping himself from growing old.
That's not possible.
Oh, my dear doctor, you have no idea what is possible once science is liberated from emotion and so-called ethics.
Where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small.
But you all forget the most important question of all. If every part of his body has been replaced at some point, is he still the same Nazi? He then zaps one of the Jewish doctors, making him dust. Because Nazi. Well, at least he has still Nazi ideology after all this time. In many other media, they merely have the aesthetics. Or in the case of Marvel's Captain America, they only have them as their origins. There is a black guy in Hydra. You know, maybe inclusiveness has gone a little bit too far. The only ones who have betrayed their worldview even more is the Chinese Communist in name only party. Anyway, the doc further explains that during the last decades they have prepared advanced technology with which they are going to take over the world.
There are not many of us left.
However, they are lucky in a way, because Mengele explains that they are not here to serve as repairmen, but as their assistants, since they are the best in each of their field. Oh, actually, only one of us was a world-renowned researcher, and that was the guy you just shot. They say they will never help them to make Wolfenstein a reality, so Mengele wants to shoot them, but then Page shows up in full Nazi montage. So, what you're saying is that body lotion is a gateway drug into the alt-right rabbit hole? Actually, she says very bluntly that they can either help them or die. No, in reality you can help them and die or just die. There is no pacifying Nazis. When they get thrown in jail, they have an argument of whether to try to contact someone for help or do as they are told. But Dr. Moss, who is very much an idealist, is the only one in the room for fighting back. The others are just too scared. Finally he gives in, saying that he will play along, but he will not do nothing, and wait for any opportunity. Sometime later, they are brought back to the hangar. For our first experiment, we are going to shoot these rubber bullets at your genitals. And this is still going to deliver more valuable research data than whatever the fuck GLaDOS was trying to accomplish. They do some researching for a day, then the women are sent to the showers to be raped by these guys. The title is wrong, I think. It must be Nazi Zombies at the Center of Earth. They are saved by Dr. Reichstag, but only because he wants to tell them that he knows they were talking and that any resistance is futile, that they already have won and they have to side with the victors of the coming war. I want to apologize for the cock blocking. Please continue. Again! Why does this movie know my fetishes so well? The only other person I could get excited for this kind of stuff is some random girl I met online.
Well, hello. Funny seeing you here. Whoa, double trouble. Okay, let's do this.
We then witness even more gruesome Nazi experiments and a forced abortion so they can get the stem cells. Fun. Using the cells, they resurrect Hitler's head and give him a robot body. Oh god, this is going to be brought up in every pro-life, pro-choice debate from now on. Our dear leader then makes a speech in very bad German.
Landesmänner, Freunde, der Herr der Welten hat so Großes in den letzten Jahren uns getan, dass wir in Dankbarkeit uns für eine Vorsehung verneigen, die uns gestattet hat, Angehörige eines so großen Volkes sein zu dürfen.
Oh, look how far things have come. Even the Führer is an immigrant. This newly very weird Fourth Reich then releases the UFOs. Ah, one attacks from below, the others from above. This time our enemies will fight a two-front war. Dr. Evil then proclaims what was to be expected. Now that the doctors have outlived their use, they will be scrapped for parts.
Haltet ihn auf!
Okay, this right there makes zero sense, because he literally told them the opposite of what they just did. How did this end up in the finished movie? Not even a Google translator makes this much of a huge error, especially not when it's such a short line.
I'm very particular with my words. Stop. Shoot. Stop. Shoot. Do those words sound the same?
I even checked if this film maybe was somehow made in Norway, because one of the characters mentioned earlier that she was from there, that they maybe translated it through several languages, first Norwegian, then English, then German, or any other combination. I cannot figure this one out. Please, all you hobby Sherlock Holmeses out there, I won't sleep normally again until I have an answer. Dr. Morris is brought to the operation room while the UFO is blasting through the ice. I guess when people on the ground will see the swastikas on the ship, they will ask themselves, what kind of stuff did E.T. learn from this kid? Paige makes the very late observation after most of her colleagues have been killed that maybe she should not be a Nazi.
Are we the baddies?
She helps Dr. Moss escape and kills Mengele. Having given freedom to her remaining friends, they need to stop the, well, it's an EFO now, isn't it? Identified flying object? Anyway, they run up and down and up, lots of shooting laser guns, battling with airplanes, and then finally it's time to battle the Adolf bot. Meanwhile, the woman that was violated takes her revenge and blows up Dr. Reichstag. And then they hug each other all of a sudden, and I have no idea where that is coming from, because just 10 seconds earlier he was a full-on villain who was looking forward to rockets hitting major populated areas with bioweapons. Whatever, only a couple minutes left. The bomb brings down the vehicle. The destruction of the UFO was an inside job, people! Look closely. The explosion is coming from within the cockpit. But Hitler still has some fight left in him. Dr. Moss injects him with something poisonous, leading to his, wait for it, downfall. And so everything is good again. The world is saved from fascist terror. Dr. Moss marries Paige. Credits. This movie is absolutely painfully bad. But not for the reasons you might think. What is the first thing that you think you are about to experience when you watch a movie called Nazis at the Center of the Earth? You expect a silly, so bad it's good movie, right? And in a way, some of that is true. But the problem is that it feels like as if someone smashed two movies into one. You got, on the one hand, the over-the-top nonsense, Hitler robots, Nazi zombies, etc. But during the entire middle part of the movie, you get real tragedy. The rape scene, the inhumane experiments, these are played straight and not for laughs, as genuine human suffering. This would not be so bad, actually, if it had stayed on that path. I went in expecting something along the lines of Iron Sky, but found myself in a real horrific drama. But then, when the third act rolls around, it turns into the movie that I thought I was going to get in the first place. And this doesn't work in harmony with one another. When crazy shit started to happen again, I was so uninterested at that point, it might as well have ended on a cliffhanger with an awoken Hitler. And it's so hard for me to care in the slightest, because among other things, most of the characters are unceremoniously killed off. When it's not doing tragedy, it's just gross or torture porn, without any purpose behind it. The entire first hour of the movie is like that. One long streak where essentially nothing exciting happens. If it stayed with the human suffering, made itself an actual pure drama, and renamed itself and changed the plot so that it was not at the center of the earth, but maybe at an apparently empty but not really castle in the middle of nowhere, then it could have worked. But you can't make Hostel, Schindler's List and Spaceballs at the same time. I mean, it might be possible if you are a movie maker Übermensch, but even then, chances are slim. Or, they could have just from the start delivered the movie I was hoping for. But as it is, it's a Frankenstein monstrosity that is put together out of pure madness and hubris. Which, given the story, is kind of fitting. Everything else you could maybe talk about is pretty obvious. Acting not very good, effects could be done by YouTubers as well, and a brutal abuse of my beautiful language should be considered a war crime. Zgermanguy out and auf Wiedersehen.
Are we the baddies?